Hello there, welcome to Fulcrum and the Force. I'm Jim, this is my channel dedicated to everything Star Wars. And today, we're talking about Luke's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. I have 5 different versions of Luke's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. Each one of these is from a different company. So I thought, you know what, let's compare them. Let's compare the sabers themselves. Let's compare them to their prices and actually how they look. So we have, as you can see on the screen here, we have one from Hasbro. We have the official one from Disney. We have one from TXQ. We have one from Nexus. And we have one from KR Sabers. Now, these are all different in their own rights. They may look the same on the surface, but when you really get into the nitty-gritty, there's a lot of differences between these sabers. I'm not going to say which one I think you should buy. I think each one of these actually has its own benefits. Just for me, some I prefer more than others, and there's reasons behind it. So let's get into some of those things. Let's start with what I would call your standard. Everybody's probably going to have it, or you've seen it in a shop somewhere. That's the Hasbro Black Series Luke's lightsaber. And here it is. As you can see, it's probably the most accurate of lightsabers. It's quite thick end here. The color's not quite right. It's super simple, super basic. And with this one, you cannot remove the blade. This is as it is all the time. Let's turn it on. So as you can see, you do get the sound. You get a variation of smooth swing. It is a NeoPixel blade, so you do get the up and down. But if you look, if I spin back out a little bit further here, you can see it actually lights up in stages. It goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I think. And the same on the way back down. So it's not super smooth, super fluid. It's a very basic system, which is run on 3 AAA batteries. Super easy to do. You literally just undo the bottom here, and the battery pack is there. And you just put it back in, and it's ready to go. So it's super simple. This isn't actually the newest version. I bought this probably about 2 or 3 years back, when it was a Force FX saber. The newer versions do have better variations than new Black Series ones. I believe you can take the blades out. But yeah, so these sort of run you around the £200 mark. These are what I would say would be, if someone's going to a shop and they're like, I want to buy a lightsaber, this is what they're probably going to get. And there is nothing wrong with this. I love this saber. This is one of the first sabers I bought. And it's official, it's licensed, and I loved it. And it still takes pride of place in my collection because, like I say, it's one of the first ones. And you know what? If someone picks this up, they're going to be like, oh, wow, Luke's lightsaber. So I think that's probably a bit of a win there. But this is, I would say, the cheapest end of the sabers. Next up, sticking with licensed sabers, we have the Disney Legacy Luke, which, I have to be honest, looks very, very nice in hand. It's a bit thick. It's a bit of a chunky boy. But it does look good. And obviously, you know, like, it's fully licensed. You can see all the stuff underneath there, all the licensing stuff. The button is at the side here. However, the one thing about the Disney ones, I don't know why. I feel like Disney, you've got the technology and you've got the money behind it, but this does not work with the thin neck. So as you can see, obviously compared to the Hasbro has the really thick neck. Luke Skywalker has a thin neck saber. But they've done that for the electronics. It makes sense. So when you get this from Disney, you're like, oh, wow, they managed to do the thin neck. That's not entirely true. It does actually come with a second emitter, which is the emitter you have to use for the blade. So as you can see, look, it's a thick boy. You've got a big change there. But let's swap these emitters out and then we can put the blade in and have a look. So there it is, with the second emitter put on. That does make it very, very thick, very chunky. But you can remove the blades of these. So if you want to display the hilt on its own, that's very good. Obviously, this is a Disney blade. They only go in a certain way. And you have to get them from Disney. And there we go. So it will only work when the blade is in. Again, if you look at the blade, it's another NeoPixel blade, but again, it does it in sections. It's not the world's most smoothest of turn on. It does have flash on clash. It takes a lot to get it going. Again, a variation on smooth swing. But this is the saber that you can buy from the Disney store, at the Disney parks as well. This is what they sell. And I think it looks cool. And I think, you know, with the thin neck in it, it looks very, very nice. It is very thick compared to some of the others. When I show you the others, I will show you the actual comparison between them. And I think the fact that you have to put the big, thick neck on here, I think, not the best. But I do understand why, and we'll get to that in these next couple of sabers. These Disney ones will run you around £200, so similar price to the Hasbro Black Series ones, but these do come in a really nice box with a stand and whatnot. So there is something a little bit extra about them, and you know, they're super official from Disney. Next up, we're going to have a look at TXQ. Luke lightsaber. This one particularly is from Sabers. Now this isn't the most up-to-date Luke Skywalker that they do. There is another version that I'll talk about in a second. But here it is. As you can see, a lot thinner compared to the Disney one. We have the thin neck here. We have the nice grenade grip here. This one is missing a box, the switch box that comes on the side, but they do versions that do have that. This just particular one is built actually for spinning. Now, the one thing I will say about this, it looks very nice. We've got a different kind of color, copper on here, or bronze, whatever you want to call this. The thing with these ones that have the proper thin necks, the saber depth is actually not deep. So unlike the Disney one where the blade goes in that far, because obviously it has the thin neck, these ones can only get, I would say, about an inch deep. So they're not always the best for dueling or spinning because you don't have that much of a hold on the blade, particularly with these TXQ ones. But let's go ahead and put a blade in so we can have a look at it. So here it is, the blade's in. It's got an okay depth. It's probably about that much. It doesn't feel loose when you're using it, so that's good. Now, as you can already see, the NeoPixel blades on these, the way that the light travels up the blade is a lot better than on the Disney or the Hasbro ones. It's a lot smoother up and down. And with these and all the ones going forward, unlike the other two, you can change sound fonts, you can change styles, you can change ignitions. So that's a big deal.
Ignition 2.
So all of a sudden, there's a lot more going on there. As you can see, this one is pulsing as well. You have gesture controls.
Music 4.
You can have rainbow blades. There's so many things you can do with these ones.
Skywalker.
So all of a sudden, it does have a big benefit over the first two official versions, because what it does mean is it means that you can add sound fonts, you've got different blade styles. This particular one is SN4 pixel, which is TXQ's board, which is a very good board. These will run you This particular one is around 230, so not a massive jump from before, but if you want to go for the full shebang with the box on and everything, it goes up to 280. You can then get a Profi board, but we'll talk about Profi in a second and the benefits of that over these. But as a standard NeoPixel sort of entry, this is between 230 and 280, depending on the version of Luke you get. That's the same with all the different characters and stuff. So yeah, so this is the TXQ version, which is a very nice saber and can do all those things. Then next up, we have what I would class as another entry-level saber. This is from Nexus. This particular one's from Padawan Outpost, and this is their Luke. Now, this, for me, looks a lot better. If I can just compare it to, well, let's start with the Disney. You can see the difference in thickness in that already. You know, like the grenade grip here is a lot smaller. It's a lot more curved. It's a lot more detailed. The thin neck is really nice. The switch boxes are very, very similar. And even, you know, even the pommels are pretty similar. And then in comparison with the TXQ, you can actually see the differences massively. The thin neck is slightly shorter on this one. The grenade is all very standard sizing. This is machined really, really nicely. And even if you have a look up close, you can see that some of them are different sizes. That is actually accurate with the film. These were never the same size. So where these are all the same size, it's not actually, from an accuracy point of view, this is much closer to the actual thing. There are obviously the same benefits. This particular one is in XenoPixel, and this will run at £310. Again, same sort of thing. You can add your sound fonts. There's different blade styles. Now, with the app that's just been updated, you can actually add sound fonts straight from the app. And I believe you can start playing around with different blade styles within the app as well to like kind of create your own sort of thing, which I think is a super cool sort of addition to it. Now, I'll put a blade in and we can have a look at a few extra little bits that this one does as well. So here it is with the blade in. Like I said with the other one, this has a very shallow blade depth. However, they have gotten around that by including extra emitters that literally screw straight into this. So this unscrews and you can screw this straight in on top. And then you have this whole thing that holds it in. So you get like that extra depth if you want to spin, if you want to like have a bit of a duel with it. I wouldn't advise dueling with a thin neck lightsaber ever, but if you want to spin and stuff, this just kind of keeps hold of the blade a bit more. It's less accurate, but a lot more helpful to keep the blade in. There's also other things. It comes with different emitters, so you can actually have a play and have it look different, and even different end caps. So you've got that one, or you've got the more screen accurate one there, which is very cool. So let's turn it on. Again, very smooth. Has smooth swing, flash on clash. But also this one, so you can see there, you can see the box on the side is lit up. But even if you move this down, it's even got an entire like circuit board with lights in there, which is very correct to a deleted scene in Return of the Jedi where you see Luke working on his lightsaber and he's playing inside with there, and you can see all the ins and outs, which is very, very cool. This is the most recent version of Luke. I have recently reviewed a version of the Nexus Luke from Padawan Outpost. I will put the link in the description. But that is the one just before this. It came out and then almost immediately they updated it again. And this is the newest one. And I think personally, I think this is the best one they've done to date. But like I said, this one in Xeno, which with the app and everything else will run you around 310. So a little jump up from the TXQ. But with everything else that you're getting with it, I think is probably worth it. Okay, and so the last one we have to look at is the Eco Hero from KR Sabers. Now, if you know anything about lightsabers, you'll know that KR Sabers is at the top of the mountain when it comes to lightsabers and how beautiful they are. This lightsaber in my hand is my personal favourite lightsaber of all the ones I own. So I am biased. Don't care about that. I'm definitely biased. This is my best one, and this is the best Luke, in my opinion. However, I will say this. This is so incredible, but when I hold it up next to the newest Nexus, I mean, they both have the different sized grenade grips here. They both have the box. They both, like, I'm quite impressed. And like, so this one has the blade plug. This one also does have the blade plug. So, you know, I mean, I'm super impressed with what Nexus have done with that particular one. But we're not talking about that now. We've already talked about that. We're talking about the KR Sabers. Now, this particular one actually does come with a crystal chamber chassis inside. So if I can just show you that. There's a crystal there. I will turn it on in a sec so you can get a proper look at it. Now, these you can only buy empty. You can buy empty and just send them out to get installed, or you can buy them empty with all the parts for the install. Now, these start at £210 empty. So you'll be buying just this, the shell, nothing inside, nothing ready to go, just empty, £210. These will then cost you, depending on your install choice, what board you want, will roughly cost you between £250, £300 for a standard install. So you're talking over £500 to start with for the basic of basic installs for this. It then can go further. There are other ways to do it. You've got the crystal chamber chassis. You then can even go all the way up to master chassis. A master chassis is a chassis that's built out of metal with crystals in it. Sometimes the crystals are moving, but obviously with all of that comes extra cost, extra install cost. To buy this saber with the master chassis install kit, so not pre-built or anything else, just the kit, because you still have to go and get it installed, it's £610 or £612, I believe. And then you have to send it off to get it installed, and then the install for a master chassis is going to cost you a bit more. So you're probably looking at total £800-900 mark for this to be fully installed with a master chassis, next level, which is a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot of money for a lightsaber. But if you love it, I am actually thinking of going and getting this as a master chassis, because it's already installed. Because of how this works, you can remove the core and install a new one. So I am thinking of getting a master chassis installing this, because it's my favorite saber and I'd like to be one that I can use as display. So yeah, there are very like levels to this whole thing. Like, if you want it this empty and you want to get it installed, I'd say around £500 is kind of the bottom cost that you're looking at, all the way up to 900, depend on how you want it done. And board as well. This particular one has a Profi board in it, which you can do more with than the Xeno or the SN Pixel. But there's a lot more work that you have to learn when it comes to coding a Profi board. It can be a nightmare, I know from personal experience. So there is that to be thought of as well. But let's go ahead and turn this on and have a look. First thing I want to do is I want you to hear this. So this has, you unscrew the bottom, and this actually has a kill switch just at the bottom. That is the sound that the saber makes in that particular deleted scene, which is very, very cool. But I'm going to go ahead and put the blade in, and we can have a look at some of the other features and bits and bobs. Okay, so here's the blade in. This, like the others, has a very shallow blade depth. There are no extra additions so that you can use it for spinning and stuff, because let's be fair, lightsaber of this degree, this precision, and this cost, you're not going to go out there and use it for dueling. So I don't personally think that's an issue. I did actually take this around with me all day at Celebration, and it was perfectly fine. So let's turn it on. The beauty of this as well, this is Profi, and this is 2-button. So if you want to turn it on, it's that button. If you want to turn it off, it's that button. If you want to change sound fonts,
Luke Skywalker, K scene, pre-on.
It's easy to swap between sound fonts. 2-button is the best way to do it, because then all the extra bits are dealt with by the second button, and the top button is literally just to turn on and turn off.
Luke Skywalker.
And so you can switch between sound fonts super quickly, super easily.
Smooth Jedi.
Super easy. Now this has a KR speaker in it, so it sounds beautiful. The smooth swing is incredible. Like I said, this is Profi, so there's a lot more that you can do with this.
Dark side.
So yeah, so as you can see, it's a lot easier to deal with and to play with. But on top of that, I'm going to show you what's inside. So as I showed you earlier on, this does have a crystal inside, and it does glow with whatever colour you've got going on. So then when you change it, it does super fun things like this. Which is so cool.
Luke Skywalker.
So there you go. As you can see that the crystal is flickering the same way as the blade would. And then it also has like a power down as well. So it like cools down the crystal at the end, which is, I mean, like for me, it's those little details that kind of take this from just being, look at my lightsaber, to look at this, isn't it incredible? And that's another reason why I'm like, I might go Master Chassis with this, because then all of that becomes even more spectacular. So yeah, so that's the KR Eco Hero. So that's just a kind of brief overview of like some of the differences between all these different Luke's lightsabers. Now, these are not all of the versions you can get. There are others. There's the Creepy Uncle High End. There's the 7 Chambers Magical Myth. There are different versions, but this is kind of like a brief overview of licensed to sort of affordable to high end. I don't have them all. I do have another version of Luke, which is like a Luke V2 from One Replicas, which I will eventually do a review on, but I did buy it just empty. It's a very different version of Luke's lightsaber, because in the movie, there's like 4 different versions of it. That one's a lot more beat up and old and not the same as these. So I didn't include it in this video because it's a different version. Who knows, maybe at some point I'll do a comparison of those two. Or if there's any other comparisons you'd like me to do across the board, maybe the classic Anakin Graflex, let me know in the comments below. Let me know which one of these you prefer. For me, the KR is my favourite, so that's always going to win out. But I'll be honest, like I think the Nexus is very, very nice. Like for the cost and the accuracy of this, and the ease of use with the app, I think is incredible. The TXQ is again a nice entry one. The Hasbro and the Disney, I think what they have going for them is the fact that they're licensed, and you know they kind of, you can buy them at the parks or in the stores, and it's a little bit of a like kind of, it's the whole experience thing, which I think is good too. Like all of these have their pluses and minuses. Budget is always, you know, a big factor. So if you're like, well, I'm just going to go with the most budget friendly, still a Luke's lightsaber, and they'll still look amazing in your collection. I don't think there's any of these that you'd be like, meh, that's not amazing. Even with the thickness of this Disney one, I think on display with this in it, I think it looks really nice. For sort of like what you can do with them, obviously the KR with the Profi board is you're going to be able to do more with it, but now with the Xeno and the board that's in there that connects to the app and all the things you can do with the app. I mean, it's pretty incredible for the price. But let me know which one's your favorite. I would like to just send out a huge shout out to Lenny Cole for actually lending me his Disney Legacy Luke Saber, because I didn't have one of these, and I was like, I really wanted to include it in this video because it's the one that people probably see the most. You know, you see it in the parks, in the stores. So I was like, you know what, I wanted to check it out. I reached out on the UK Lightsaber group, and I was like, hey, has anybody got this for me that I could borrow? And I promise you I'll look after it. And he reached out and he was kind enough to send this over to me. So massive thank you to you, Lenny, for that. I think it's a nice saber. You know what? At the end of the day, it's cool. I think these are all cool. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a video. This is actually the last video I will be doing from the current Fulcrum headquarters. I will be taking a small break, not super long, maybe a month, not entirely sure, because I'm fully moving house now, and I will have to spend some time setting up the whole new YouTube area, so that's going to take me a little bit of time. So thank you to this space. I've loved it. It's evolved from some of my first videos, and I'm actually like, oh, I finally got it to exactly the way I want it, and I'm moving. So that's the way it is. And moving onwards, and I'm moving upwards, so that's always good. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. It's a bit of a longer video, but I needed some time to go through all of these, and I enjoyed it. So that's the most important thing. But until next time, don't forget, we're one with the Force, and the Force is with us.